What makes someone like the Ae86? It's a hard thing to deal with when you have the displeasure of being asked, what's your favorite car? And have to take a metaphorical gulp, tug on the old collar, and flip your phone screen around to show this fucking thing. A weird, slightly frumpy econobox from 40 years ago. Before going through the process of getting rid of their perplexed look and explain why you actually aren't some sort of snot-nosed contrarian or quirked-out white boy who wants to seem different, getting one of your relatives at Thanksgiving to understand why you like this is a seemingly impossible task I wish on no man. But today, I'll try. We really don't need to start all the way at the beginning to understand why this car is so popular. I really should just play a random AI Keiichi Tsuchiya video like, "This is how this Japanese man turned a simple Corolla into a living legend." Blah, blah, blah. Did the skid, made a 3-part movie. You've heard it a million times. What is just as important, though, to its story is who it inspired. After watching this absolute banger, a bunch of people went, bet I could do that. What this sparked in Japanese youth was a whole transition away from the previous toge culture of bike racing that had dominated prior eras, and started moving towards cars. The Corolla was most likely a popular choice for a number of reasons. Namely, it was used in the toge, or plus P. But more importantly, it was a pretty decent platform for the time. I'll get into why this is such a good platform later in the video, but just to note, it worked and it was cheap. The cars of the late 70s and early 80s, like the Starlet, were just kind of shit in stock form, and newer, better platforms like the S chassis were not out yet, and when they did release, they were a whole tier more expensive. People like Shingo Murao or Nakai were amongst what we will refer to as the first generation of drifters. Those who really figured the shit out because there was really no access on what to do, just trial and error. Who I think was more influential on what would later be Ae86 culture were the second generation. People like Kaicho, Imamura, Gen Terasaki, Koji Yamashita, or Ueo. These people were amongst some of the young guys who picked up the 86 in the early to mid 90s and learned from the prior generation, later adopting a style brought on from Akira Nakai, who was famous for his personal style of 86. These were aggressive, degenerate, and rough and ready machines built for a purpose. How I imagine this spawned was a mixture of a few things. The aforementioned influence from the prior generation, but more importantly, 2 others. The plummeting cost and utter lack of power. As the decade wore on, these chassis became cheap. And I mean like, really cheap. This is largely because according to my shit napkin math, they made about 300 fucking thousand of these cars in Japan. To put that into perspective, that is as many 1.6 NA Miatas that the entire world got. A sports car that is wildly common in basically every part of the world. Therefore, the cast of characters that would be buying these 86 were balling on a budget, so to speak. So while they weren't fancy, owners still made them interesting. Often amateur paint jobs, stupid bumpers, and fat 14-inch wheels. The second component was the driving style. While the solid rear axle and skinny tires made them easy to spin up, the short wheelbase, low angle, and tiny 1.6 makes for a tricky form of driving. The meta that evolved, so to speak, became stabby inputs, clutch kicks, and a ton of momentum, leading to a driving style that was unique to the chassis. Across the world in Europe, the little Corolla became popular for a different reason. Despite relatively poor sales, the Ae86 was picked up as a base for rallying very early on. This is thanks to its underpinnings. While the exterior was distinctly mid-80s, the chassis of the 86 was old. Real old. Being identical to the previous generation Ae70s, which was basically the same thing as Shermant's, Carinas, and KP61s, which was pretty much based on a KE30 and T27s, which is more or less the same as an RA20 and many, many more. While I'm definitely simplifying here, this was a recipe of Toyota's. Front McPherson struts, coil-sprung, solid rear axle, 94-inch wheelbase, light, and a 4-cylinder. While the interior and appearance was that of a fresh, space-age 80s car, I like to think of the 86 as the best version of a long lineage of rear-wheel drive Toyota cars. The final evolution of the old Toyota. While they may have skimped on the chassis design, they did not miss the mark on drivetrain, sporting the new 4AG, which was really one of the first modern EFI sports car engines out there, a decent T50 from the previous generation, and the good old T-Series diff, now with LSD and disc brakes. While the Ae86 would be a popular choice for many years amongst grassroots rally across Europe, in Ireland, regular enthusiasts took a liking to the car. After years of seeing these cars at local rally events, people began looting the UK of all of their Corollas, coalescing in the legendary status of the twin cam. Being a weirdly narrow spec. UK spec 11 hatches, typically in odd colors you'd never really see in Japan, like 4E1, 202, and 8D7, sporting fog lights and super lights. From an outside audience, this is pretty weird. In the early 2000s, the US also started to notice the Corolla, with Club 4AG members starting one of the first stateside drift events, not to mention the scene in Puerto Rico, BC, Australia, UK, New Zealand. There are tons of characters and places that this video does not have the time to go over, but you get the point. While I touched on this briefly, the driving style is probably one of the largest draws of the 86. It is a machine of raw emotion. What really makes it click for most people is when you show them Ueo. Seeing this man's clutch work from inside the car would give a home mechanic a potential trip to the ICU. Steering is fast and snappy, but most importantly, the throttle is always sunk. At all times, the foot is to the floor. The sound is another story. This absolute peanut of a motor getting wrung out. The sound of open throttles as it approaches, and the echo of 1 million bees as it drives by. This shit's intoxicating. There really is something about pulling 10/10ths out of such a basic car. This is the case for anyone that can really drive a Corolla. It's just cool. No other word for it. The tuning is really something else entirely. It feels like its own microcosm when put up against other Japanese cars. Getting a car that was mostly meant to pick up groceries and get you to your part-time job to do serious track work is a challenge. The engine by modern standards is incredibly simple. The front suspension is 3 sticks. The rear suspension has its own host of problems. Ae86 tuning is an endless battle, fought by many, but could be best described as a fool's errand. But the beauty of that is it's pretty simple. Don't need to worry about camber gain, toe gain. Thing goes up and down. While the cost and effort required is completely endless, the totality of components is pretty simple. The engine itself is also a world of its own. A channel I've been waiting a ridiculous amount of time to bring up is Garage 4AGE. It is the single most amount of dedication I have ever seen for a platform as narrow as the 4AG. But let's be honest, I would really not expect this behavior from any other fan base. Single videos will include 15 engine swaps just to A/B test the most minuscule of differences. And my god, it's pretty good. Imagine explaining some of the ridiculous shit like, yeah, this is a long rod, high comp, mid port, VVTi, 16 valve coil unplugged, quad throttles, and a high rise manifold. Pretty ridiculous, really. Just jargon. 4AG tuning is a 40-year ongoing cottage industry that is still in active development today. I can right now go on MRP's website and spend an annual household income on a 40-year-old engine. It's a Sisyphusian endeavor where the peak of the hill is a whopping 190 wheel horsepower. I would be amiss to not mention grip racing, as it had just as large of an 86 presence, but it's really not my thing, so I'll just glaze over it. Just know it existed and still does. I'm sure by now, some people are shocked it took me this long to mention Initial D. The peanut gallery might consider this to be the sole reason why people like this car so much. They see 86s and Initial D as inseparable ideas. People like 86 because they like Chinese cartoon. End of story. Well, this is definitely true to a degree. It isn't the whole story. You've seen the show, I've seen the show. The Ae86 was chosen as the main car because people liked it, not the other way around. It was a fitting car for the main character role of an underdog story because it actually mirrored reality. The common person's view is skewed by a lot of 86 fans liking Initial D. But let's be real. I feel like most people that are into Japanese cars also like Initial D in general. Not the greatest piece of fiction of all time, but like, come on. Initial D's kind of sweet. With that being said, Initial D was pretty impactful for the preservation of a lot of chassis in Japan and the popularization abroad. It's 1000% part of the story, but not the whole story. I spent what feels like an eternity talking this car up, because if you couldn't tell, I do quite like it. But what I really need to stress is that these are not for the faint of heart. I do not own one, but that's not really any fault of my own. The buying process is a pain. These cars are old. Over 40 years old at this point, and it really shows. I will now show you the only rust-free example of an Ae86. They simply do not exist. No matter how much you cut back, there will always, and I mean always, be more hiding behind it.
Oh, look at that. It's like an ad for a fucking weight loss center. Before and way before.
This guy ever stop breaking balls?
The interior has a rigidity of astronaut ice cream. They smell like a mix between mildew, sawdust, and 1,000 smoked cartons of Marlboros. The best word I could use to describe them is miserable. Just the buying process alone has caused me more misery than any other singular car has brought me in years of actual ownership. Not even to mention the cost, which is its own hefty deterrent. You might think that SR5 on Marketplace is tempting, but it will require a full-time job worth of work and cheddar to even dream of owning what some random schmuck bought for $1,000 just a couple decades prior. This car will be a surefire death sentence for your chance at the simplest pleasures of life if you're not an absolute Corolla nut job. Nevertheless, what makes the 86 so special is that it isn't. It was never meant to be a legend like every AI short wants you to believe. It was a car made to be cool, fun, but ultimately disposable. The metal is kind of poor quality, the bottom had basically no seam sealer, and it was bound to be completely outdated in just a few years' time. Why I think people flock to these cars is some sort of strange sickness. A mix between nostalgia and an otherworldly shitbox disease of unknown origin. Something about a junky old Corolla has a magnetizing pull to those affected by it. So people never gave up. I think that's a better way to put it. The 86 is not really that interesting, but the people who like them tend to be. In 2005, they were a junk old car at a drift event. And in the year of our Lord, you will probably see the same archaic piece of junk old Corolla ripping. It is a car that has its own unique styling, its own culture, its own brand of tuning, completely separate from most of the other cars in its sphere. For me, it was inevitable. Being a longtime fan of Toyotas, drifting, and sprightly rear-wheel drive four-cylinders, I had no choice. But for many, it was a connection to the past. Maybe it was getting your hands on a LimeWire D1GP bootleg, your first car, or a silly cartoon. If you're one of the unfortunate few, there will always be that part of you that yearns for this crunchy machine.
Little country cottage in the woods down by the river, winding down the lane lined with little purple flowers. I stop to gather berries for my rustic summer kitchen. I eat my little sandwich and it tastes like crap.